Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Inside the Inning, brought to you by Afterthought Sports. Jack Haskell and Gavin Watson here, bringing you all of the action from the NLCS and the ALCS. But first things first, Gavin, how are we doing today?
I mean, it's been a crazy week. I feel like the AL and the NL have played two different versions of the playoffs. And so I think this is going to be a really, really interesting World Series that we're going to have. And I'm excited because we haven't seen quite a thrill. I mean, we saw the Yankees Dodgers last year. We kind of all thought that would be the thriller of World Series. And it kind of ended up not being what it kind of was set out to be. So interested to see if this World Series is a little bit more exciting than last year's, especially given that the Blue Jays, the team who hasn't made the World Series since 1993. So I'm getting excited. We're getting down to the wire here with baseball.
Should be a fun one indeed, but for you, your Dodgers get to avenge your Yankees by taking down the Blue Jays.
Yeah, and I mean, I this is going to be a great series whenever we get there. I mean, I just I can't wait to this whole episode, this whole show based around the World Series. I feel like everything has the theme, everything's behind it today. So I'm really excited for our show here today.
Yeah, and before we get into the ALCS and the NLCS recap, there was a little bit of a kind of interesting Twitter exchange by the AAA affiliate of the San Diego Padres. Do you want to segue us into that?
Yeah, so essentially, so for those who don't know, Blake Snell was traded over to the Padres from the Rays. He played some time there. I think it was about 2 seasons there. One of the years he had an injury, was sent down to the minor leagues, to their AAA affiliate, the Chihuahuas, the El Paso Chihuahuas. Shout out the El Paso Chihuahuas, one of the best, I mean, names, mascots out there. Just, but unfortunately, we have to talk about you in a little bit of a bad light right now. So, but El Paso Chihuahuas, great name, right? So Snell pitched a singular game for the Padres AAA affiliate. Okay, when the Dodgers clinched the World Series, they won that final game against the Brewers. The El Paso Chihuahuas tweeted, "Big congrats to former Chihuahua Blake Snell, headed to the World Series final." Now,
There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but like, he doesn't know you.
in like, it is like it's a division rival.
Yeah,
The
that
Dodgers
too.
and the Padres are bitter division rivals. They are not like they're not sending each other Christmas cards
No?
necessarily, right? Like they do not like each other. So for like it's a little bit like what, and it's not like a guy who necessarily had been there his whole career. Had just not gotten the opportunity in the Padres system. Whatever, Padres get rid of him and he went somewhere else. This is a perennial all-star. This guy signed one of the biggest contracts of this offseason. It's so silly to me.
Interesting to say the least.
Yeah, it just to me it's a silly I don't know. I just don't think it's called for by the team's media.
But we digress. Heading into the ALCS recap, this was a very fun series.
I mean, this one was just a brutal one, back and forth the entire series. It felt like every game. It was like inning 1 through 3, you felt like this team was going to win. Then inning 3 through 6, it was this team came back, and then 6 through 9, it just the whole series was back and forth. The whole series just it was so fun to watch, and yeah, it was great to see baseball be marketed in that way and be fun again and market like Game 7. That's huge. Game 7 of a series, and the storyline behind this series was great with the Mariners trying to make their first World Series appearance, the Blue Jays trying to make their first since 1993. So this series had all of it.
I
It had it
mean,
all.
with everything at stake, what a series to go to 7 games.
Yeah,
Arguably the best series thus far this postseason, I'd say.
arguably the two teams with probably the most questions going into the postseason about what level their teams at. I mean, maybe less with the Mariners, but I mean the Blue Jays did a complete 180 from where they were in May. Like so, this was, and we haven't even started talking about individual games yet. I mean, I actually wrote it down wrong on the notes. I have Kevin Gausman retired 16 straight. That was actually his second start of the playoffs, but that first game, Bryce Miller, 6 innings. Cal Riley, 2 for 4. Polanco, 2 for 4. Like the guys who needed to get it done for Seattle got it done, and that's how you win the first game.
Which, and obviously we'll get to it a little bit down the line, though Seattle are no longer in the playoffs. Shout out to Jorge Polanco
Mm-hmm.
because he was just doing everything he could this postseason for the Mariners.
I felt like every time I was writing down any sort of stat about a game or whatever, every time I was like, oh, yep, like Polanco had 2 hits, a couple
Jorge
RBI.
Polanco did something.
Yeah, it was like he contributed something to the team, and it's like, I mean, that's what you want out of a guy who I believe they picked up at the deadline in Jorge Polanco. So yeah, this is, I'm shocked that, to be honest, I'm a little shocked the Blue Jays came back. I thought the Mariners were the better team. I thought the Mariners were gonna handle their business in 5-6 games, but to see the 180, and then I mean, still we're game two looked like a complete 180 from what we've seen. I mean, Trey Savage looked human. He allowed a run, right? 4 innings, 4 hits, 5 runs, all of them earned, 4 strikeouts, and only 70 pitches thrown. And on the other side, Logan Gilbert only 3 innings, 2 earned runs, and 2 strikeouts. So game two, not a game for starting pitcher enjoyers.
Which I want to go back to Trey Savage for a second.
Yeah,
We're practically beating a dead horse with this, but it is just so insane to think that this season, in one season,
yeah.
Trey Savage has pitched in low A, high A, double A, triple A, MLB regular season, and ALDS, excuse me, ALCS, and now the World Series,
All in
eventually.
his like first year. I mean, he's a rookie still. His first year, his first what? I mean, this is probably within his first 20 games in the big leagues. You're gonna make a start in the World Series.
Incredible.
I mean, and he still got through 4 innings. I mean, he gave up the 5 runs, but he still got through. He still was able to work his way through it. And for a young guy to be able to have the maturity to be able to realize maybe you don't have your best stuff or they're on you, he still was able to battle through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not a lot of starting pitchers do get to 70 pitches in a game like that this late into the postseason.
Postseason,
You
especially,
usually
yes.
go to your bullpen very early on. So the fact that he was able to get through 4 whole innings with as young and as inexperienced as he is,
Mhm.
I tip the cap to you, sir.
Yeah. Game three switches back. It was 13-4 Toronto. This felt like the turning point, if anything. This felt like the moment where the Blue Jays got a little bit of wind in their sails. Seattle did out hit them 18-8, or sorry, Seattle was out hit 18-8 by the Blue Jays in that specific game. 18-8. I mean, just a great job by the Blue Jays pitching staff to shut down the Mariners offense.
It was just one of those games offensively for the Blue Jays, too. I mean, the story for the Blue Jays this entire postseason is that their bats have been red hot.
Mhm.
I mean, you've got guys batting 1,000 in a single game in multiple games. I mean, Ernie Clement's been one of those guys. I
Yeah.
feel like every game I've watched Ernie
Yes, you
Clement
hear his name
hit,
every at
he's
bat.
he's
Yeah.
gotten 3, 4 hits in a single game. So the Blue Jays, I don't know what their secret is, but their bats have just been outstanding.
We talked about it in that game alone. Vlad 4-for-4 with a homer. Springer 3-for-6 with a home run, and Alejandro Kirk 2-for-4 with a home run. And on the flip side, it's not like the big sluggers and the big bats for the Mariners didn't do anything on the flip. Like Rosarena, Julio Rodriguez, and Cal Riley, all three, like probably their three best hitters, maybe Naylor up there instead of Rosarena. You can make the argument, right? But those are probably your three top sluggers, your three biggest guys, your three best hitters, and they got the job done for you, and you still got outscored. Like I feel like a lot of this is gonna come down to. I feel like the Mariners bullpen really struggled. Their pitching really struggled to do what you have to do in the playoffs, which is prevent runs. And it sounds so silly to say.
Which, on the topic of Cal Riley homering, I'm going to go off on a tangent for a minute. I want to clear the air on something. I have seen so many people on Twitter combining
Yeah, I saw
Riley's
this
regular
tweet.
season and postseason home runs and saying, like, oh, he tied Aaron Judge's record. He has the most home runs in the MLB regular season and postseason combined. Those are two separate seasons, Gavin. It makes no sense. It is such an empty, irrelevant stat.
Well, and it just, I like, we're just like,
We're
it's not
stretching
like,
at this point.
yes,
We're
it's not
reaching.
like, it's not like it's like, oh, we have this stat already. And this stat is going to be, we can explain, we can show, like using WAR, using OPS, like something we've had for years. Nobody did that. Nobody was like,
No,
nobody was like, oh, Aaron Judge had this many playoff and whatever, and for some reason I'm blanking on his name. Roger Maris. When he broke his record, nobody was counting up his playoff and regular season home runs. Like, right? Like, we weren't doing that when Judge was breaking his record. It just, it's so silly. Like, just get over it. Why are you doing this?
I've
Like,
never seen this before, and it's because the media is so against Aaron Judge winning MVP that they're stretching and they're reaching to try and make it seem like Cal Riley deserves this MVP. And we've talked about this. Again, we're beating a dead horse. Cal Riley, phenomenal season, but Aaron Judge is the true AL MVP, and you can't convince me otherwise.
And I really too, if you're being like fair, I really think if you're a reporter, I think you can talk yourself into the idea that Cal Riley should be the MVP favorite.
You absolutely
I think
can.
you could
There's a case.
rationalize it. You don't have to do all this stretching to be like, yeah, he's the MVP this year. Like, based off of his stats alone, you could just be like, yeah, I think he deserves the MVP. Like, you don't have to do all of the rationalizing for it. Just be like, yeah, I think he's the MVP.
You can make a case for
Like,
Cal Riley being the MVP without having to make up stats.
yes, exactly. Like, I think Judge should be the MVP 100%. But, like, if somebody thinks that Riley should be the MVP, I'm not, like, saying they shouldn't have that belief, but why are we making up new stats to, like, qualify him for it or quantify how good of a season? Like, no, the whole idea of the MVP award being decided after the playoffs is you submit your MVP award ballot, your ballot before the playoffs, so that the playoffs cannot have an impact on their voting. So who cares? Just talk about that he's hitting good in the playoffs. I mean, you can make that comparison enough. I mean, we've seen it. Judge hasn't hit great in the playoffs, so you can just make the playoff comparison. Really, like,
we could go on and on about this all day, but
it gets me all riled up.
Nonetheless, moving on to Game 4, Toronto takes that one for a score of 8-2. Luis Castillo, an early night for him, only throwing 2 1/3 innings, letting up 3 earned runs, 5 hits, and only 1 strikeout. But Max Scherzer,
moment of the night.
They call him Mad Max for a reason. 5 2/3 innings, which he could have gone on for longer.
Oh, 100%.
Only let up.
He's done it in the playoffs too. With the
only
Dodgers.
let up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, and the moment of the night, as you mentioned, just kind of barking at John Snyder when he tried to initially. It seemed like he was going to take him out, but he was just trying to like
gauge
the situation, trying to see how he was feeling. And he's kind of like, "Hey, I'm not going out. This is my time. I'm not leaving."
Well, I talked about this over the summer so many times on air. You'd rather a starting pitcher yell at you and be like, "I'm not coming out of the game," than be like waiting for the coach, like, "Oh, finally, he's coming to take me out." Like, that's vintage Mad Max right there.
And I give him all the props for it.
That makes, if I'm John Schneider, I'm 10 times more confident in my decision now. Because I'm like, oh, I'm looking in his eye, like, he's got it. He's fired up. He
I
wants
mean,
this.
by this point, Max Scherzer is 41 years old. I don't really think many expected him to go that deep into the game because he didn't have that great of a regular season. But I mean, Mad Max is a playoff legend. I mean, his 2 different eye colors made the situation all the more just like pressing, it felt like.
And he's a guy who always just does not care about his body. He did it when he was in LA. He did it when he was at the Nationals when they made their run in 19. He doesn't care. He wants to win. And I mean, that's who you want on your team. Those are the guys who make the 162 feel better. But it's so insane to see what he's doing at his age as well at this point in his career. It's crazy to see.
Absolutely. But on the offensive side, Vladdy, 2 for 5 with a home run. Just unfair at this point. The Blue Jays hitting, like we've mentioned, just red hot. Nearly 70% of the lineup had hits in a majority of the ALCS games.
I mean, it's just crazy because it's 1 through 9. It's not just Vlad. It's not just Springer. It's not just the big guys who are making the big contracts. It is everyone. It's the whole squad. It's the guys who just happened to get called up last week before the playoffs, and the guys who've been there since opening day. It's insane to think about 1 to 9 being so effective in a playoff campaign. That just rarely happens.
And Josh Naylor trying to do as much as he could.
Could,
Three
yeah.
for three with a home run. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in game 7 when we get to game 7, but
Mhm.
he was another guy really sneaky for the Mariners. I mean,
Yeah.
trade deadline acquisition, played really elite defense
And
throughout this
hey,
entire
they
series.
brought him in to be a power bat from Arizona. That is the specific need they needed. And I mean, homer in that game, they got their money's worth with him. That's for sure. That is for certain.
He gave them that and more. But
Yes.
moving on to game 5, Seattle takes that one 6-2. The offense didn't really click for the Blue Jays in this one. They stranded 8 runners and
Yeah.
hit 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position. So you're kind of starting to think, are the Blue Jays starting to cool off?
Well, the unfortunate part is their starter goes nearly 6 innings of work for them. Gosman going 5 2/3 with 4 Ks, but just they can't give him the run support that he needs. I mean, put up a great start, only gave up a single earned run, and then obviously the rest of it came by the bullpen. And in that game, Riley he homered, and Suarez he hit 2 home runs in that game.
Which was crucial because up to that point, Eugenio Suarez was struggling.
Well, and that did put, like, again, if he doesn't hit that home run, it's a 5-2 game. That's a 3-run ball game. That's still a save situation. So getting that insurance run is so huge. And I'm sure any of the coaches in the playoffs would tell you right now, any amount of insurance runs they will take. And so just being able to give them that extra little boost, huge.
Without a doubt. But game 6, Toronto forces game 7,
Mhm.
taking that one 6-2. Vlad capped it off with an insurance homer. Addison Barger homered,
Yep.
who was kind of quieter guy for the
The
Blue
the
Jays.
guys who have been the big bats, the guys who have really been their superstars this year, got it done. They got it done, and they had to. They had to step up, and they did. I mean, you talked about, Vlad had that home run. I mean, he it's just what he can do, and we're gonna talk about Vlad a little bit later because I think it's just so cool for him to see the fruition of everything from being a kid signing with the Blue Jays, but to now be in the World Series with that same organization. But anyways, he gives them the insurance that helps them push it over to the next game. And Trey Savage, a much better start, still gave up 2 runs, still looked hittable, but much better than obviously that first start.
Absolutely. And the starting pitchers, both a little shaky, but did
Mhm.
as much as they could. Trey Savage coming in for 5 2/3 innings, letting up 6 hits, 2 earned runs, striking out 7,
Mhm.
but also letting up a crucial home run. And then Logan Gilbert, who really kind of struggled in this series against the Blue Jays, only throwing 4 innings, letting up 7 hits, 4 earned runs, only striking out 3 and letting up 2 homers.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Gilbert. He gave up 12 earned runs in 7 innings of work and 5 strikeouts. It was a tough playoff showing for him. The Blue Jays just had his number, unfortunately, and it's really tough for a guy who came up in that organization to get to right before that game and give your squad a chance to win in Game 6 and couldn't do that. And obviously Game 7, we'll look into that. Both that Game 7, both the starters looked incredible through their first few innings. Kirby and Bieber looked great through the first few innings, and then they both kind of ran into some traffic. They both kind of had a similar start. They started sharp, it kind of fell off, and then they ended pretty sharp at the end of the night.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of people saying that George Kirby got pulled a little too early. And I think, depending on who you ask, the story of this game was the Mariners' poor pitching staff decisions, but we'll get into that. But as you mentioned, George Kirby throwing 4 innings, only let up 1 earned run and striked out 3.
Mm-hmm.
And Shane Bieber for the Blue Jays only throwing a third of an inning less than Kirby, giving up 7 hits, striking
Mm-hmm.
out 5, and letting up a home run.
Yeah, and it's tough because you talk about, did they take Kirby out too early, and I don't know, because their organizational belief the entire series long has been spreading the wealth. I think I have it written down somewhere in here. Here we go. 6 or more 3-inning games, and only 2 of those were starters. So like, they didn't. The Mariners didn't have a whole ton of depth from their pitching staff, and they knew that they spread the wealth a lot more this playoffs than I think you saw from the Blue Jays.
And after George Kirby, Brian Wu, traditionally a starter,
Mm-hmm.
did not play in the divisional series as he was coming off an
Yeah.
injury, was put on the championship series in kind of a long reliever role of sorts. They didn't want to exactly put him in a starting pitcher position. He comes in, allows a few guys on base, and this is where the discourse between Mariners fans, the baseball world, comes in as the Mariners put Edward Bizardo, excuse me, into the game. I believe it was in the 7th inning when they had Andres Munoz they could have turned to. Now, I didn't hate this decision at the time
Yeah.
because Edward Bizardo up to that point was basically unhittable in the postseason. And if you put your closer in Munoz in, do you have him go 2 1/3 innings? Do you pull him? Do you have somebody that you think could be better to close out the game than Munoz?
I would say, I personally, this is the biggest game of my career. I'm going with my closer for 6 outs. And if I get burnt by my closer going 6 outs in game 7, I ride or die with that decision because I think that's the guy who all season long, when you've needed just to stop the bleeding, stop it all, he was the guy you put in. So I think, to me, the closer role, whoever's in that role for a team, is clearly just has that little bit of extra trust down in that bullpen. So to me, I would say I would have gone with a traditional, reliever, traditional closer in that situation. But it's tough because you still would, if you move on, you still have playoffs, you still have to play, so you don't want to hurt a guy too. But it's just it's tough. I mean, yeah, I don't know. What would you have done?
I think I trusted Edward Bizardo. Wow, I cannot pronounce his name today. I think I would trust Edward Bizardo in that position because, as I mentioned, he was seemingly unhittable. He was putting up really good stuff. He had
Yeah.
some clutch moments this postseason. You throw him in that one position, and then if you need to throw Munoz in the 8th inning, you have him in the 8th inning. But ultimately, didn't matter as George Springer, who I'd argue is Mr. October at
Yeah.
this point,
He
currently in the league.
he needed to have his October moment. They talked about it all broadcast long. If you're watching the game, they talked just how much this guy needed his moment. That he needed his one moment, his big moment, and he got it. And I mean, there was no bigger moment than 7th inning hitting the game winning home run. I mean, he is never going to buy any food item, any drink item, anything in Toronto ever again after that home run. I can guarantee you.
Cementing himself not only as an October legend, but a Toronto Blue Jays legend with a go-ahead 2-run blast in the 7th inning. George Hoffman would come in the 9th to close the game, who threw a career high 35 pitches in Game 6. So he threw a career high. He's not used to throwing that many pitches in a game. Comes in the next game and says, "I'm the closer. I got this." And credit where credit is due, he did not have a great regular season.
No, and to be fair, Hoffman has been a starter in the past in his minor league career a little bit, but really he has been a closer and in a reliever role. I mean, for the last few seasons, so he's really been a reliever and been in that world. So to see him be able to just pitch as many days in a row as he did, I mean, I think he pitched somewhere around 5 innings of work. Like, that's crazy. That's a lot of innings for a closer, especially there's not that many days off in between these games.
It just means more in the postseason.
Yeah.
But the Toronto Blue Jays win and advance to the World Series. Vlad Guerrero Jr. named the American League
Which,
postseason MVP, which who else but
yeah,
Vlad Guerrero? I mean,
it was either him or Springer, but I mean, with how well Vladdy hit, it was Vlad. But
had
Springer
to
could
have
have been
been.
argued just because of how big of a moment that is in Game 7. I mean, he won them the game, but nonetheless, flip it over to the LA series a little bit.
What a
Man,
series. Oh
this
my.
was so much like it's night and day. Like this was so boring
This
in comparison.
specific series is going to be pointed to when we don't see baseball played in
Yes,
2027, and I could
100%.
not be more upset about it.
Game 1, Blake Snell, 8 innings, no runs, 10 strikeouts. Sorry, not
Just
10 hits.
prime Blake Snell,
Yeah.
which is so fun to watch because he's struggled so much through the
Yes.
last few
Yes.
seasons during his
Yes.
time in San Diego, a little bit in the start of the season with LA.
Yep.
So to see Blake Snell just dealing like he does, it's a
Yeah.
treat to watch.
And I feel like this was one of the first times we've seen the Dodgers bullpen be as shaky as it was that last inning. Sasaki came in, gave up a little bit of traffic, gave up a run, gave up a hit, walked 2 guys. They put in Snell. He got the job done after a walk, but nonetheless, that was the shakiest we've seen the bullpen. And it really wouldn't get much shakier the next game.
Did you say they put in Snell for
Or
Sasaki?
Sasaki Trinan, I meant. They put in Trinan.
Which, Trinan...
Which putting in Trinan for Sasaki, granted, it worked. Dave
had
Roberts,
the blood flowing a little bit.
But woo, that is, I mean, I think every Dodgers fan was holding their breath, going, "Oh boy, what is that decision?" Like, nonetheless, Dodgers squeak out the win, 2-1 in the end. Game 2 again was just like, Yamamoto, your turn to dominate. Yoshimi Yamamoto, 9 innings, 7 strikeouts. He gave up 1 earned run. However, the 1 earned run was a leadoff home run to Jackson Churros.
And that was it.
In the first inning. So, nothing really else besides, like... And I mean, don't get me wrong. Peralta didn't have a bad start. 5 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs, 4 strikeouts. He kept the team in the game. I mean, it just... They couldn't get it going offensively, and I feel like that was a lot of it all series long, is the pitching staff. Did they do great? No. We're not going to sit here and say that the Brewers pitching staff was great. But they kept the offense in every game, and that's all you can really ask from the pitching staff. Because, I mean, dude, you're going up against 3 MVPs, former MVPs, and Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Freddie Freeman. Like, they're going to score runs on you. I'm sorry. Like, that's going to happen. It's on your offense to match them a little bit while your pitching staff kind of compresses it or dampens the danger, I guess.
And that's essentially been the story of the teams that have faced Los Angeles this postseason. Mm-hmm. Your pitching staff can be as good as you want it to be, but you just cannot stop the Los Angeles offense.
Yeah, and now that the pitching staff is not allowing runs, I mean, we'll get to our predictions a little bit. This is going to be a tall task for the Blue Jays. Nonetheless, 11 hits for LA, spread out all of them 1 through 9. Everybody had a hit in that game. Dodgers take that 1-5-1. Flipping over back into LA, back home in Dodger Stadium. Dodgers take it again, 3-1. Mizorowski, he looked good. He came in relief, 5 innings, an earned run, 9 strikeouts. But again, the Dodgers offense, it's going to find a way to get it done. And this, I think, is the best example of it. Only 2 RBIs and 2 extra base hits for LA, despite them scoring 3 runs. So, like, they were gifted at least one of those runs by the Brewers. So they just find a way to score runs. And former Yankee, we just got to give a shout out to him. And I will shout out him again in a little bit, I think. But Caleb Durbin, 2 for 3. He scored the only run in that game. He looked great this entire series. He was the only one in the Brewers team, I felt like, who really had the offensive fire that we've seen from a lot of these other teams.
Is it too late to veto that trade?
I will say it was a little bit of a interesting decision. I will say somebody did say Caleb Durbin was really good and that Devin Williams was a little shaky back at the start of the season, but nonetheless, no, I mean, you knew Caleb Durbin was going to be good. He won the Arizona Fall League MVP last year. You knew he was going to be good. The Yankees just figured that Devin Williams was better than he was, but he really wasn't, unfortunately, for them. And then game 4.
Shohei Ohtani.
I was going to say, do we even call it the game 4, or do we just call it the Ohtani game? Like that, it's like the only storyline of this game was Ohtani came into that game 3 for 29 in the postseason before that game. He proceeded to go 3 for 3. All 3 of those hits, they were home runs. And then for the Dodgers on the mound, starting on the mound was Shohei Ohtani. He went 6 innings, 10 strikeouts, no runs. I mean, it's like, I feel like we've talked about how good Ohtani is, and yet, like, we still have to have the same conversation because it's just like, what? Like,
this game
is that good?
Arguably the greatest game in the league history, and cemented himself as the greatest player of this decade, if not of all time.
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
he getting there?
I think I would say he was there. He was there way long
I
ago.
mean, he's doing it
But
cleanly too. He might have a gambling
I was
problem,
gonna
but
say
he's not
depends on who you
roiding.
ask. There are people out there who still think the gambling, but nonetheless, um, Dodgers sweep it. I mean, Jose Quintana, 2 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, a strikeout. Trios and Contreras went 2 for 4 in the last game. The offense just could not get it going, and if your offense doesn't get it going against the Dodgers, it's over.
Thanks for coming to Milwaukee.
Yeah. Uh I want to talk a little bit about there's this kind of, and this is the baller strike segment today. I for us is there's a little bit of a notion building before this World Series and these like little break days that it's almost like David versus Goliath between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. I think that's one of the dumbest arguments I've ever heard in my life. When you take the thought process of the Blue Jays payroll is $252.7 million. The Dodgers is $341.5 million. The Dodgers is number one. They have the number one payroll in the game. I believe it was number 5 that the Blue Jays were. They were number 5 payroll in the MLB. So it's like they really aren't like that dramatic. Like, yes, the Dodgers are going to go outspend everybody. They do, right? It's really not that big of a gap as you would think. And like the Brewers, don't get me wrong, that was a large gap. That was David versus Goliath. I really don't think the Blue Jays should be afforded the same like, oh, we're a small market team. I mean, dude, Toronto is the 7th largest metro area in North America. It's the only team in Canada. Like they're a huge market. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? The idea that the Blue Jays are this crazy underdog. And I guess yeah. What do you think about that?
They're just not. I mean, pushing aside just like the outside factors, just
Yeah,
the way that they played this postseason, just like
exactly.
purely as a baseball team, they're not an underdog. They are
Yes.
a very good team. If they weren't facing the Los Angeles Dodgers, I'd argue they win the World Series against essentially any other team.
And I think the it's silly to me because it's like baseball is one of those sports the most where it's like you don't just blanketedly, it's not just blanketly like the better team, the team with more superstars wins every time. That's not how it is. There might be other sports where it's like that. I mean, we've seen Mahomes do it. How many Super Bowls does he won in a row, right? But you really rarely see it in baseball. I mean, this is the first team going for a repeat championship in the Dodgers since the Phillies. So you really don't see it. Baseball is such a game of randomness. So it's really tough for me to sit here and be like, yeah, the Blue Jays are just down and out. They're not going to be. And the other notion to me, and I'm so passionate about this because I think it's so silly when people try to defend the owners and be like, oh, dude, the Dodgers are ruining it. No, you know who's ruining it? The owners who don't spend money. They ruin it, okay? Not the teams who spend money. Because think about it this way as well. They act like the Blue Jays aren't a big market team. If you're not a big market team, would you have offered Roki Sasaki a big deal? Would you have offered Shohei Ohtani a massive deal? Would you have offered Juan Soto a massive deal? No, you wouldn't, because you wouldn't have the money, right? You wouldn't have the money to put up to sign one of those guys. So I just think it's so bizarre when people try to like make the excuse for the Blue Jays that they're like the underdog and that they're already going to lose. And I love that John Schneider pushed back against it in his post. He was kind of like, no, it's baseball. Like, I don't care if they think we're the underdogs. Like, we're gonna go win 4 games. Like, that's what our job is.
I will
Like,
say it's slightly poetic that Shohei is now facing the team that
yes,
everyone thought he was going to in the
originally,
offseason.
yes,
So much so that they were making up fake flight information and saying he
yes.
was on a plane to Canada to go sign with the Blue Jays. But
Um,
this is going to be a great series.
yeah,
And I mean, to your point, it's not David versus Goliath. It's Goliath versus like
a
a
little less
slightly
Goliath.
smaller
Well,
Goliath.
yeah, like,
This is going to be a very good baseball
yeah,
series. But nonetheless, I'm afraid the Dodgers are just going to have their way with the
yeah.
Blue Jays.
We all sent in predictions, and it's just how can you not say LA? I mean, I don't get me wrong, I love the storyline, and I love it that a guy like Vlad, he signs the extension midway through the season, even though he said he wasn't going to do it. He signs the mid-season contract, third highest contract in all of baseball, right? He stuck out with this organization that you know maybe manipulated some service time early in his career to make him stay in the minor leagues a little longer. But for him to sign on and that season he signs on to be able to be in a position where now you're in the World Series, like that's really cool. The Dodgers have 3 former MVPs, and one of them is a two-way guy. I'm sorry, I gotta take Dodgers in 4. Like, if you don't take Dodgers in 4, it feels like you're silly. Like, even though it's crazy to be like, oh, I'm predicting a sweep.
So I'm gonna rebuttal.
Okay, that's fair.
I think it'll be a sweep, but I think it'll be a gentleman's sweep.
Okay.
I think the Blue Jays are gonna catch them by surprise in Game 1 because
Fair.
I don't think the Dodgers are very locked in, and I
That
say
is
that
a very good point.
because
We haven't talked about
you've
that.
got a guy like Blake Snell who this past Monday was posting on his Instagram story looking for NBA 2K26 park teammates. I don't think the Dodgers are fully locked in. So I think the Blue Jays will take Game 1, and then the Dodgers will be like, okay.
To be fair, Game 1
let's
starter
get this started.
Is Blake Snell. The Dodgers announced it already, so he is the Game 1 starter.
Playing a little too much 2K, Blake.
But no, like I wonder if they do lose that Game 1. I know. I'm going to predict something right now, Jack. If they lose Game 1, the Dodgers, all we are going to hear on any national TV show is how, oh, the Dodgers had a week off, or the Dodgers had time off. It's a time off. It's a time off. It's not. I guarantee you, George Springer, who got drilled on the knee, would much rather have a week off to heal than have 7 games.
Rest is crucial.
Yeah. So I think that has to be considered. Yeah. This would be a fun series. I'm excited. I'm going Dodgers in 4. You're going Dodgers in 5?
Dodgers in 5. And then I think it speaks for itself. Finals MVP, Shohei Ohtani. It's unless one of the glue guys like Teo or Kike have just like a great game.
I might have said before, just because like with how many playoff moments Kike Hernandez has, you can never. It's always a safe.
And it's so funny to me that Kike Hernandez is like a genuine contender for Finals MVP.
Yeah.
Like how does that work?
It's crazy.
Or World Series MVP, excuse me.
Nonetheless, make sure you watch this World Series. It's going to be a fun World Series. All the games are starting at 8 p.m. Our final little thing we got to talk about is we have some managing updates.
2 big updates.
We'll start with the slightly less bigger of them, I would say, the one from yesterday. Kurt Suzuki is officially the manager of the Angels. He served as the special advisor to their manager, Perry Manisson. They passed up on Albert Pujols, passed up on Torrey Hunter. And especially with reports coming out that it was a money and a numbers thing for Pujols, like, that's a future Hall of Famer. I don't know. I think
it's a franchise guy. Yeah. It's your franchise legend.
Like, I think, and granted, we don't know what, maybe he was asking for 10 and they were going to give him $1 million, right? But, like, I feel like with a guy like that, if it's close, you just open the bag and give it to him. Like,
you've got to lock it down.
Granted, I don't think Kurt Suzuki is a bad decision for pick of the Angels. 16-year playing career, still involved with the game of baseball afterwards. He's a catcher, so you just know that he's an intelligent player.
Catchers just always make good managers.
Yes, exactly. The next team we're going to talk about is the Giants, and one of the finalists for that gig was a catcher. The only thing I kind of have left to talk about for this Angels hiring is a bit of interesting timing. There's currently a lawsuit going on between Tyler Skaggs' estate and the Angels organization, and it just so happened that around the afternoon yesterday, some little-known member of the Angels organization named Mike Trout was called to testify in that trial, and they also then decide to announce it's like,
Gavin, you're going to get the black SUVs pulled up to our townhouse.
It's just, it's not a great look, like a bad situation all around. And it's a regrettable decision by the Angels and their PR staff. I know you're trying to cover up a little bit of the awful stuff that happened in 2019 with the Angels, but that feels a little disingenuous to try to cover it up that heavily. But switching over to a little bit of happier managerial news. The Giants, Buster Posey, his first season as the president of ops with San Francisco, makes a huge, huge swing from the college ranks. Tony Vitello, Tennessee's manager, is going to be officially their manager. Wow, what a big swing. It seemed like all the smoke was leading towards Nick Hundley, former backup catcher for the Giants, former backup catcher to Buster Posey when Buster Posey was a catcher for the Giants, but it felt like he was the lead runner, the favorite. And then out of left field, we all of a sudden start to hear Tony Vitello's name in the conversation, and it just kind of started, the smoke started to kind of spark up from there.
And Vitello will make history as the first ever manager to make the jump from the college to professional rank without a single game managed in the major leagues.
I mean, I don't think. Oh, and also just to give our credit where the credit is due, the first two on it was Jeff Passan and Peter Thamel of ESPN. Just giving them
Jeff
the credit.
Passan, friend of the show.
Friend of the show. Just giving them their credit. They were on it first. But I mean, Vitello is considered one of the smartest minds in the game of baseball. And like you said, yes, he is jumping straight to the MLB, but he has led Tennessee to 6 straight postseasons. He's led them to a championship, their first ever in 2024. And he's had over 10 first-round draft picks. Like, this guy knows how to develop. And if you're a manager like Buster Posey, or general manager role, you want a guy who can develop. And you want to be you look at the Dodgers, and they do it so well. They want to probably do something similar. Again, I know inter-squad rivals or inter rivals, but I think they want to set up more of a college level program of they're trying to recruit guys through and push them through their organization and develop them a little more.
And you've mentioned that he's produced so many draft picks. He's going to have one of his guys, Andrew Gilbert, former Syracuse Mets legend, came to the Giants at the trade deadline, now on San Francisco's big league squad. And who else but his former college manager as his new big league manager?
Yeah, and it's interesting to me because I just lost my train of thought. But it's interesting to me because I think the Giants, I think they're gonna. You always hear the thought during free agency of no one wants to live in San Francisco, no one wants to move to San Francisco, no one wants to be a Giant, no one wants to be a Giant. You always hear it. It's probably one of the longest stereotypes that I've heard during free agency is no one wants to go to San Francisco. Well, here you go. Now you got 10 guys at least in the MLB who were all players for this guy. So you got 10 guys who probably want to play under their former coach who might say, hey, I'll go play for you, maybe take a little bit of a pay cut.
Good old Rocky Top.
Right? Like you might get a little bit of some beneficial deals. So I'm very interested to see what ways this pays dividends for the Giants. I mean, Tony Vitello is just so connected in the game of baseball. I'm very interested to see what this Giants team looks like in 2-3 years.
But nonetheless, this seems like a good place to wrap it up. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Inside the Inning. We might be taking kind of like a mini hiatus to just let the World Series kind of finish out and then do a full recap just for time's sake. So when we see you guys next, we will be recapping the World Series.
Whenever baseball decides it's done, we'll film a podcast.
And then after that, we'll get into this a little more in the next episode. We'll just kind of be as needed with free agency coming around. Free agency in Major League Baseball is very sporadic, but we'll try our best, see what we can do.
We'll have at least 1 or 2 like preview free agency episodes before we get into there. But yeah, I mean, we'll see where this is going to be an interesting free agency, I have to say, because I think a lot of teams are bunched up right now.
But nonetheless, thank you again for watching this week's episode of Inside the Inning, brought to you by Afterthought Sports. For Gavin Watson, I'm Jack Haskell. We'll see you next week.
All right, there we go. We still got an hour to do our Emmy Awards.
Wow, 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 wow.